Hello everybody, April 25th, 2022. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, see what it did over the weekend and today on Monday. First up, we're going to look at what I had said on Friday, and just taking a look at this here. Too long didn't read, right? If we're above 38.5, I was looking maybe at a bounce up to 44.7. But it would likely just delay the drop to sub 33K. If we go below 38.5, we should see that 33 to 35 pretty quickly. So we did break 38.5 right here earlier today. And it has tried to prove me wrong here, as you can see, by bouncing up. So we didn't close the day down here, so there's some arguing that an argument can be made about the importance of closing candles below key levels, and it really kind of depends on the time frame you're looking at and that sort of thing. So the daily did not close there, and if we take a quick peek at the daily chart, this candle that formed could certainly lead to more bouncing here before further downside. I'm not going to take that off the table. This is why we have candle bodies and wicks, right? A wick down below that level doesn't necessarily mean we're immediately going down, even though we did break 38.5. It's just one of those annoying things about these charts, and especially about Bitcoin. It likes to make things as difficult as possible. So of course, a lot of people had, maybe jumped into longs as it was coming up here and put their stops below that low. Well, what are whales going to do? They're going to try to take out those stops, right, and then bounce it anyway. So that's what I call a stop hunt right there. We could certainly see a bounce, like I said. This candle looks almost identical to this candle right here. Did that lead to a sustained bullish outcome? No, obviously it did not. We saw, another couple days of pumping, and then we saw strong rejection. So if it follows the same path, we could certainly see that again. We can get up into this red box area here, which is still resistance, and then we could come crashing down. Again, I've said over and over again how annoying, corrective action is. It can take many, many, many forms, and so we've got no exception here. This is certainly taking a very convoluted form. I think I've been in between two scenarios, like the red and the orange. They don't really change things all that much. But I think what this will say to me, if we push up higher into this box again, and it won't be this one, it'll be this main box here, the original red box, that remains resistance for me. So I think what I would say is that if we push up into that red box, orange is correct, right? And we are therefore within A, B, and C of orange. That's doing an expanded flat correction, which, previously I was thinking, okay, well, maybe this is A, B, C, and the red, in the red scenario where one ended here, A, B, C. So if that were correct, that's when I would have expected continuation downwards more immediately once we fell below 38.5. So if we can push back up into that red box, again, doesn't change things all that much in the mid to long term, but it does open up the possibility that this is going to happen here, where we have an expanded flat A, B, C within this wave 2 instead. So this is not wave 2, this is wave 2 basically. Again, mid to long term does not matter all that much. It's going to change the levels slightly, but we're still projecting below 33K and likely a bit below 30K based on the action that we've seen. And in support of this possibility is the fact that we did in fact just see 3 waves down. B waves should really just be 3 waves. So we saw A, A, B, and C within B right there. There's our 3 waves there. And there's really no way, even on the micro, to count that as 5 waves down. So I don't believe that is the start of the move down. So I am anticipating more chop for the time being, with a potential move back up into this red zone, even breaking this previous high. So, you know, we've seen this so many times now, right? Here we hit a low, we took out stops. Here we hit a high, we took out stops. Here we hit a low, right there, took out stops. So we hit a high here. Are we going to see it take out stops? Probably. And then from there we can fall. So again, very, very choppy action. Really nothing that we can work with as far as short-term trades right now. It's just a treacherous area. That's pretty much been the theme of the last 6 months, honestly, since November. It has just been choppy, and incredibly frustrating to try to trade if you're doing short-term trading, which I don't do much of. I'm more of a longer-term swing trader. You know, I'm looking for things that are gonna pay off in months potentially, rather than days or weeks. I mean, there's some things that pay off in weeks for me. I shorted waves not that long ago, and that paid off very, very quickly. So that certainly does happen. But for the most part, you know, I'm looking for Bitcoin. You know, the main thing I'm interested in is longer term, and the easiest way to make money, of course, is to buy when there's an outsized reward to risk. And the only place that I see that happening is if we go below 33K, right? If we get down here into this area between 25 and 32, there's an outsized reward to the amount of risk that I'm taking on. The reward is potentially, you know, up to a 4x from here. It could go, you know, 28K up to 100 to 130, whereas the risk is fairly minimal. You know, if it sustains a break below 25K, I probably end up stopping out. So I may stop out with a small loss, and the reward is much, much higher. So that's not the case for me right here at 40 grand. Especially when I expect it to come down and have no clear bullish structure, this is not a buy zone for me. This is a wait it out mode. Wait for something to prove itself, and that has served me very, very well. I mean, going back, this is now essentially in this same range here all the way since January. I mean, well, honestly, it's even earlier than that, right? This was still, all of this action was within this range here, going back all the way to December. So, you know, it's not really something I've been interested in playing with large quantities or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I think we certainly could see an immediate drop from here. If it does do that, like I said, this doesn't really look like a 5-wave move down. I don't see any way to count it as 5 waves. I see 3 at best. So it's really not the best way to start off the next leg down. So that would make me nervous. If this did continue downwards, it would probably be part of a larger ABC down, and then we would see more chopping up, and then maybe more chopping down. I mean, this drop could get extremely choppy if it started doing that. So at the moment, I would view anything in this red box, though, as a pretty legitimate place to short if it did want to continue upwards. And generally what we've seen is the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, and even a bit into Wednesday, has tended to be kind of a, you know, the green part of the week, as we see it pumping, and then it just gets reversed. Like Wednesday through Sunday, essentially, we see selling. I don't know what that's about, but the timing has seemed to work out pretty well, pretty consistently on that over the past few weeks or months. So we may see that again, you know, if this continues pushing upwards into Tuesday and potentially into Wednesday. Would not shock me based on that. and based on this potentially being an ABC up here for a 2. So certainly something to keep an eye on. If this is a C wave, ideally it would form as 5 waves. I don't really think we're probably forming 1 and 2 right now, to be honest. So we'll get a little dip down and then a pump and then a dip and then a pump. Something along those lines would make a lot of sense for this. So let's continue to watch and see. Let's go down to the 15-minute just temporarily. I want to see if there's any. I mean, it's certainly not looking impulsive quite here, but it's hard to see on the really low time frames, of course. If we just pretend temporarily that the top is already in, but we are going to see a 5-wave move up for a C, then this would be wave 1. And we should see a little retrace. So let's just draw this. If it's going to retrace and bounce, it would probably go into that zone right there between the 382 and the 618. That's the typical place for that to go. And then that would project upwards. Let's just, again, pretend right now that it goes somewhere right about there. This projects upwards to about the top of this red box, right around 44K. Maybe slightly higher, somewhere between 44.2 and 44.9. If it goes there and actually does a 5-wave move. So something to keep an eye on here as a possibility. That would be 1, 2, 3, somewhere about there, 4 and 5 of C of 2. That's likely what that would look like. And of course, don't take this as gospel. This is just sort of, academic right now. What does this look like if it's going to be a C wave? This is what it looks like. This is what it should look like, a 5-wave move up, something along those lines. And that's kind of why I was leaning towards this being a C, because it looked like that very well could be a 5-wave move right there within C. That could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that, of C of 2 back here. And then we got a 3-wave move follow up from there, and so it didn't have any follow through, and that's why we're getting the bounce here. This should have continued downwards. If that red was correct, it should have continued downwards. So now I'm back to thinking orange is more likely, and we are probably going up into that 44K range. But when I say probably, I mean 60% chance versus a 40% chance that we just drop more immediately and form some sort of less ideal dropping scenario. All right, I think that sums it up. I don't really have too much else to add, except for obviously this is indicator-wise a very good place to see a top happen. We are quite heavy here, quite overbought. So a little dip down, and if we see this come down into the green box overnight and or tomorrow morning, as well as the indicators coming down into this buy zone basically, and RSI coming down a little bit, then it may not be a bad place to try a scalp or a hedge long in that area there. That's about 39 to 39.7. It's fairly good risk reward, honestly, because you can put your stop now below this level. That's now the level to beat, which is 38.2K. So a scalp or a hedge long in that region there, 39 to 39.7 with a stop below 38.2, and a target somewhere up here in the 44K region is pretty good reward to risk if you really want to play this. I caution against playing this because, like I said, this is all junk action, and we've seen every time you think it's going to go one direction, it reverses, goes the other. So is it possible it keeps dropping? Absolutely it is, but that's why you have your stop there. So not something I'm particularly interested in doing on my own, but in my own trading style, I just don't. I'm waiting for a higher probability setup, to be honest, but this is a valid setup anyway for a hedge long or a scalp long here. All right, I think that's pretty much all I've got. So I'm going to sign off, and I will talk to you all on Friday. We will see if this 5-wave move can play out for that C wave, or if we get a more immediate drop. Regardless, in the larger scheme of things, once again, as long as we're below this high, 48.2, the outcome still should be a lower low. I don't really care how low it goes, as long as it goes below that low right there. I prefer it actually fill out this 5 waves down to about 28, but as long as it goes below 32.8, I'm a happy camper. And that would be considered a completed correction then. Finally a completed correction if we can go below 32.8. And that's what we really, really need to do in order for the bulls to find their way again and potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially turn it around and actually give us another leg up to the 100K plus area. All right, everybody, that is it. So please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button here. It does help me out if you do that. Helps other people out because the more likes and subscribes I have, the more YouTube is going to show this video around and help some other people out too. All right, I will talk to you all on Friday.